about you, but I judge everything. As soon as you walk through the door, I go, I paid you. This is how you are. Until you talk, until you say something. And if anybody here take my inventory when I walked in here? You can get honest. Did you judge me? Come on.
Yeah.
Of course. He's one of those kind of guys. I go into the prisons, man. I go into the prisons, and I'll go to a prison I haven't been for a while, and they got a new cop out in front because he thinks they got to check your ID. And he looks at me. Sometimes I was short sleeve and I got tattoos. And I'm walking through and looking at me, and I stop, show him my ID. Expression changes. I had a job before that one. I was a program administrator for the National Basketball Association. I can't even shoot a basketball. But what happened to me in that episode of my work career was I got lost. Here I'm helping these guys, and you know, and the only reason that they're in there is so they can keep playing basketball. I want to work with people that are through, that are done. That the old behavior, the old way of thinking changes. You know, I call it a paradigm shift. You know, we're stuck in a paradigm that I believe this to be true and that's it. And what happens to people, human beings, education does that. It changes your mind. Remember we were talking about manipulation, the guy in the corner over there, about why we do certain things? You know, I used to hate cops, okay? But I was taught to hate cops. Well, of course I hate cops. They catch me all the time. So one day I'm sitting in a restaurant, I have a sponsor. You know, he's passed on. He had like 40 years of recovery under his belt. And we're sitting in a restaurant and we talk about, you know, stuff, because there's like 12 steps that we take, and they're all to improve the quality of the individual's life. And I'm telling him, yeah, I hate cops, and he goes, there's 2 cops in there. He says, I want you to go over there and thank them. Oh, hell no. Remember, I got a way of thinking that there's nothing physically wrong with me. I got, this is my enemy. So I said, he tells me, I'm your sponsor. You said you wanted me to be your sponsor and you want to take direction. I'm giving you direction. So I go up to these 2 cops, right? And they happen to be Mexican cops, you know. I hate them even more. So I walk up to them and I go, you know, in that steroid voice that we got, hey, thanks for being in the neighborhood. And he goes, hey, come here. He goes, you've been there and that, and you know, they judge you. And I said, yeah, I've been there. And then I thought a little bit while he's talking, I'm not even hearing him, right? And then I think, why would he want me to come over and thank them? Well, when I was sitting in a cell, and my daughter was living out here with my tough ass and my image of a man, and anything came down on the family while I was in there, guess who they were going to call? Not me. 911, right? And you come to a realization, but that's what education is, man. Life experience. You know, I really don't want to go into too much about that because that's not what this class is. I want to open it up for questions and bring them how you can bring them.
Like, how do you feel you survive or grow from an environment that's perpetuating all the same things you're trying to overcome, you know?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Well, what I did was I took from my neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood, and I don't know if Angela mentioned it. But I grew up in a neighborhood. There's a difference between a gang and a neighborhood. I grew up in a neighborhood. I don't know about anybody else. I don't speak for anybody else. I grew up in a neighborhood that when 7 o'clock at night, dusk, and you're 10 years old and you're walking home, the neighbor goes, you better get home and call your mom. That's the kind of neighborhood. And I have a lot of connection to that neighborhood. So I thought to myself, if I'm ever able to give back, not only that my own personal recovery from whatever it is I'm recovering from, that I can go back to the neighborhood and let the neighborhood know that there's a way out. You know, I'm the first one from the neighborhood to get clean. And I talk specifically, now there's 30 of us. Guys are coordinators at Impact, guys are directors in the in-prison programs. So that's how we give back. And the cops know me. But when they pull me over, you know what they do? hey Ernesto, I got a sister that's using dope, man, can you help me out? You know? You bring a change, man, you know, because, yeah, that's their job to know who the criminals are. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I'm gonna go score dope, I know who has the dope.
Right.
I'm not gonna go into City Hall and ask the mayor if he's got any, you know? And it's an education, all of that stuff. All of the things that you're talking about, all the things that we look at as negative, they're a purpose for our education. I know what's up, you know? And that's what we do. If you ever go into the police station, you tell the officer, hey, you know what? Whenever you get some young kids that are just starting off, stole his little sister's little gold, and he ain't really in trouble, but he's ready, tell him to let you go talk to him. You know, it's easy. You know, what did Gandhi say? You be what you want the world to be. Quit talking out the side of our neck, yeah, I'm going to do this, and we don't do anything. Let's go do it. And that's the change that we make.
About the neighborhood you grew up in and going back and wanting to help those people, I'm just wondering how you started that, like going back in there, and what you did to help other people.
The first thing I did was I helped put a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Went to the church. I went to the church and I asked the priest, you think we can utilize, he goes, Ernesto, I've known you for years. Hell no. We're gonna let you guys in there. You know, I don't know what you're gonna do, right? But and then about 10 minutes later, he goes, "No, I'm just kidding." He was a recovering person himself. You know, you never know who you're gonna meet. It's like being hungry. Don't say anything, you'll die of starvation. But if you ask and you talk,
what enticed you into heroin?
I don't think it was an enticement. I think that I felt bad enough that I needed something to make me feel better. When you have a headache, what do you take? Take what you got to take. Makes you feel better. That's exactly what. I do not go around blaming society or anything else, man. There was something lacking in my life, and that fulfilled it for a while.
What was it?
What?
That you felt like you were lacking?
Not able to read. That was the biggest embarrassment. You know, like you get a Valentine's card when I was in grammar school. I couldn't read it. You know, I didn't even know where it came from. You know, and who am I going to ask? You can't ask the homeboys. You know what I mean? It's like being on a prison yard, and I come up to you, hey, homeboy, I'm feeling sensitive today. That doesn't apply in places. Remember, we're talking about environment. You know, in a platform like this, you could ask questions to your teacher. You know, and if the teacher has any worth, they'll answer your question. Or they'll be honest and say, I don't know. It happens as we recover, we stop blaming others for our... You made the decision to be sitting in that chair, or you can make a decision to be sitting in a cell somewhere, man. You know, it ain't that far apart.
What changed? What made you change?
I was tired of living that way. So, you know, I didn't have a spiritual awakening, you know, lightning bolt hit me. You know, I used to lay in my cell in San Quentin wishing that it was different than the way it was. But I wouldn't tell you. You know, everything's cool. You ever do that? You're hurting inside, man, for whatever reason. You lost a friend. You're feeling emotionally. Somebody asks you, how you doing? What's the first thing out of your mouth?
Fine.
Fine. Fine, I'm doing fine. The inability to get honest with yourself and then with another human being. You know what? I'm not doing too well today. Because in the final analysis, for any human being is the ability to get honest with themselves. Forget the rest. So, you know, my thing and my hope is that you will take this out there and help somebody. You know what? All it takes is one voice.